How kneeling you have gone and blessed our soul. Unseen angels spread God's goodness. Our Savior Christ is home. Are you alright, Eddie? That's the act corrupt drug kingpin Kevin Brooks. And corrupt, certainly unfit to be a detective Khrushchev, who said, as I exposed Toronto community housing, the lack of care for their tenants, the abuse, and the corruption. And for years, Brooks and Housing has tried to get me out so the truth is not exposed. And they had an opportunity, yes, when there's an electrical fire in the bedroom where I had a homeless individual whose wife had died and Housing kicked him out. Paul Keaton, who turned out to have worked for the police, used that room, and yes, I saved his life. And Keaton told the police, and I told him the fire was isolated to the room, that it may have been because of a faulty electrical socket, and he left a whole cell phone with a lithium battery plugged in, and he believed that was the cause of the fire. Police, in turn, ignored that and used the words that I spoke to them. I said it was a cigarette that saved my life. Because when I decided to smoke a cigarette after a neighbor had brought me a meal, about 10, 11 minutes after Keaton, who I thought was in the room when I uncovered the fire, I dropped off my dog and I saw the dog innocent. And I ran into their room to try and save Keaton. And I figured Keaton was dead. And Keaton told him that it may have been his negligence that led to the fire, his negligence, and Toronto Community Housing's negligence in using contractors who did not either have electrical license in Canada or were not fit to do electrical work because they were maintenance or garbage men. Keaton told that to them. But in turn, Khrushchev, the police, certainly not a detective. And what Admiral Keaton told me, when I asked him, he says, the cop, the Khrushchev, never went upstairs. He looked at the fire marshal's photos, and then when the guy put handcuff on me and said, arson, he says, yeah, you said you smoked a cigarette. Yeah, I'm in the living room. I lit a cigarette and smoking and going to the bathroom. And the smoke detector is between the bathroom and the living room. And the cigarette smoke started off. And when I put out the cigarette fan off, the smoke sensor, there was no notice of any smoke. But I smelled something. The sense of the smell was important. I smelled something burning, rubber or electrical. And then I checked the hallways, there was nothing there. Checked the kitchen stove, nothing there. Then I bang on Keaton's door, Paul! No answer, Paul! When I opened the door, it was so hard to open. A tsunami of black smoke hit me and threw me back. And then I started screaming, Paul, Paul, Paul! And I tried to run but then there was this big, thick black smoke just shooting out of the room. And I was thinking of going under the smoke, but then there was a spark in the corner where you normally sit. And I'm screaming, Paul, Paul, Paul! And I ran out, pressed the fire alarm, ran and got the smoke detector. And when it malfunction wouldn't work, and I went through the fire exit. Bang, 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 started working. And I went to go and put it out through the front of the door. There was no fire. It was just pure black smoke. I believe that is a clear sign it was just electrical. I'm screaming, Paul, Paul. And then I ran down, and everyone knows it was a real fire. I ran down to meet the firemen, still with the smoke detector in their hand. And they said, I said I'd smoked a cigarette. And that was grounds for charging the horse. I smoked a cigarette in the living room where I stayed. In the bedroom where the fire was isolated to. The door was closed. It was a cigarette smoke that notified me. My sensor went off, and when I put it out, and there was no notice of any fire or any smoke, but I smelled the scent of rubber or something burning. And I checked outside, checked the kitchen door, and that's when I went to Paul's room, and there was this humongous gush of smoke. So I am charged and banned from within 500 meters of my home because they put me in handcuffs and said, you're going to send all the dogs to the Humane Society and lock me up in a jail cell in the police station, freeze me to death, which they know I fear, and put me through the whole process, but they can put me on the Form 10 if I agree not to go back to the premise. So I had to. The same dog they say I endanger, they gave back to me. But then I found my 2 cats had died. And when I went back up to beyond 500 meters, cops came and ran us out of that area too. I went on the public street, the cops came and called city and told them that we were camping. And then they shipped me down to 545 Lakeshore, where it's illegal to smoke fentanyl, it's illegal to smoke drugs, and they give you all the tools to do it. And no windows, and that same place shut it yesterday. I had to leave because I couldn't breathe, the animal couldn't breathe, and we were both getting sick. And then we went to court on the 7th and found out the allegation is saying that I lit a cigarette and that's what caused the fire. No, I lit a cigarette, and the cigarette is what notified the smoke sensor. And by that, I was able to smell the rubber and then uncover the electrical fire in the room. That is what happened, not what false stuff you want to fabricate. To God be the glory. Well, let's go over and show you. I always glorify Toronto Fire and say that they are Toronto's finest. Then when the fire marshal comes up with this conclusion, and then the police and the fire marshal come up and say that within 2 hours, in a fire that was isolated to a bedroom that killed my 2 loving animals, Mr. Wonderful and Miss Cat, they did a arson and the police investigation within 2 hours and concluded that I had set. How preposterous and ridiculous